There's an awful lot to be thankful for. As a radio host, you get, a true dynasty plopped in your lap. That's a thing to be thankful for. But then to have the coach of that dynasty who could big time anyone, anytime he wanted to, never be even 15 seconds late for a weekly phone call. And this is going back years. Steve Kerr, we are thankful for you once again, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
Thanks for the kind words, Damon. Good to be on with you guys again.
It is good to have you on again. Let's start with the nice part of the back-to-back, shall we? The win in Houston. It was great to see Klay Thompson work himself out of that funk. How much do you apply to him just feeling it? And how much would you go back and apply to the closed-door conversations that your players had that he said helped inspire, get him out of it?
I think the biggest thing is that Klay, over the last two games that he played, Houston and then the Knicks game before that, he just showed way more patience and just took better shots. And that's usually the way it works. If you're patient and you wait for good shots and you move the ball, then the game tends to reward you. And I think we talked about how Klay was pressing the last couple of weeks, the early part of the season. And he was taking some bad shots, and so 2 games in a row now, he's been much more under control, much more, I think, calm and relaxed, and the ball has moved, and the quality of his looks has really led to him getting the hot hand.
Was there a moment early on in the Knicks game that you can point to and say, the light bulb's gone on, he's figured it out? Was there a moment that stands out to you?
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 passes that he made to the big man diving to the rim. Looney sets a lot of screens for him, and Klay is such a great shooter that he attracts a ton of attention. And when Looney sets a screen for him and Looney's guy jumps out and tries to challenge the shot, that means Looney's wide open. And as soon as Klay hit Loon, I think twice in the early going, it was like, okay, everything's changed now. Like, this is what it's supposed to look like. And, and then he got going. He made 3 or 4 shots, and then he took like 3 bad ones just to remind us that he wasn't fully out of it. He wasn't really, completely out of this funk yet. And then followed it up with the Houston game where pretty much the whole game, he was taking really good shots. And as I said, the game rewarded him for it.
Steve, did Kevon Looney come out of the game last night at the 5-minute mark because he was ailing more than when he was warming up? Or did you realize at the 5-minute mark, this game's kind of gotten away here, so we're just going to give him a night off after all and keep his, that wasn't just to keep his consecutive start streak alive, was it? Did anything change for Kevon last night?
No, he was fine. The performance staff was concerned about him, didn't want him playing big minutes. And I talked to Loon yesterday during the meeting, our breakfast meeting, and he said he felt well enough to play. And I said, well, let's just cut your minutes back. And given that we were getting blown out, it just felt like the wrong time for Loon to be playing any more than those first 5 minutes. So it just it didn't seem right. We were never in that game, and I wanted to make sure we preserved him and got him some rest. Like
maybe 1-2% of NBA games look like a directional small state school playing a major conference program, but that's kind of what happened last night. It really got away from you. So, wanting to see a response from the younger players on this team and then definitively not seeing it, what do you do as a learning moment from that? Do you just burn the tape, not bring it up, or is there some shame coaching to be done? What do you do with the results of last night's game? Is there anything that you learned about anyone?
Yeah, there's no shame coaching. That's not the best tactic, I think, ever. But I think what the idea is you want to give your guys confidence and reality at the same time. And when you're talking to guys with so little experience, it's really important to tell the truth. I watched Steph and Draymond and Klay and Andre play, years and years of college basketball, and I watched them in their early stages of their NBA careers, struggle to find the groove and find the way that they could best impact the game. So these guys are Hall of Famers, and they didn't like just figure this out in a couple of months. It takes years, and so I think the young guys need that dose of reality that the NBA is it's an unforgiving league, and the only thing you can do is just work and maintain your confidence and spirit and energy, and over time that work pays off. But it's filled with a lot of really tough lessons like last night.
We won't know what they learned from last night for some time. Did you learn anything about them last night that you didn't know? No. I mean, we know, from working with the guys every day. We know where they are in their respective careers. We know what they need to work on. It's a good opportunity to give guys extended minutes. I think that's been really tough on a lot of our young guys this year, just not being able to get consistent minutes and not be able to go out and play through mistakes because we're trying to win games, and so it has not been easy on these guys. So it was good to give them extended minutes, but we know them well at this stage. We're with them every single day, and we're working on everything that they need to get better.
Steve, the real good news is if you took the per 38, Patrick Baldwin Jr. might be one of the great players in NBA history. We saw him really for an extended run for the first time in his career last night, and on a night where there wasn't a lot to stand out. I thought he was a little bit of a standout as a good story. He looked comfortable on a floor, and I mean, if that's where every NBA journey needs to start, a good start to his journey.
Well, there's a reason that he was drafted in the first round. He's got great size and skill, and got a good feel for the game. Just needs reps. I think he played 10 or 12 college games, and that's it. And so when you have a player like that who's talented, but inexperienced, they just got to keep going. They just got to keep working every single day, and over time they'll get more and more comfortable with the NBA game. And I think Patrick will be a fine player.
Can you tell us a little bit about James Wiseman and the returns you're hearing from Santa Cruz, since we're talking about, guys with a lot of potential who didn't get a lot of run in college? To me, James Wiseman is right at the top of that list. How are things going down in Santa Cruz according to, your sources, which I'm assuming you have down there?
Yeah, I mean, they're going well. The team won last night in Salt Lake City, and this was the idea for James, not to just go play one game, but to actually practice and put together a consistent 10 days or so where he's backing up a couple of good practices with a game, and then being able to watch the film with the coaches and get back to practice the next day. It's a huge advantage for the guys in the G League to be a little bit like college players, where you're getting 3 great practices every week because it's a limited number of games, and you can really focus on detail and then apply it come game time. So this is a really, really positive experience for James.
Without getting into any details, because obviously everything is fluid when you're talking about a situation like this, how long roughly would you expect him to need down there to figure out the things you want him to figure out? Is this something that you want him to have down before you return him? Or can you say
have him down there for a couple of weeks and then bring him back up to see what kind of progress he's made? How are you viewing that? Not in terms of days or games, but in terms of what you're getting from him.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to predict that exactly, Ray. I mean, I just think the idea is you take it incrementally. You take it in, in blocks of time. And this felt like a great time for him to get a good 10 days. And then we'll see where he is at that point. And we'll see where our team is. We'll see if we're healthy and all that. But I think in any player's development, it's impossible to predict exactly, how much time a player needs. I think breakthroughs can come at different, different speeds, different tempos. Maybe there's something that clicks, and then there needs to be another aspect of his game that needs work. And this is all fluid, and we'll just keep going as we see fit.
Steve, let's talk about, Steph, who is having, I think, an MVP caliber year. I mean, he is off to as good of a start and is playing as good basketball right now as we have seen at any point in time. Got that 1-3 that he hit in Houston that had the trajectory of the St. Louis Arc. I mean, good God, that thing was a rainbow. It was just amazing. Is it harder to sell him on nights off, or does it become easier because he understands, nothing but his best interests are at the top of your list?
Oh, it's really hard. It's really hard to try to tell Steph that he's not going to play. I mean, but we have to protect him from himself. The fact that we flew back from New Orleans today and play tomorrow night, and then play again Friday night and fly off Saturday back across the country. This is a brutal schedule, and he's, as well as he's playing, he's banged up, and at 34, it's just going to be something we've got to make sure we stay on top of. We've seen what can happen. Last year Draymond gets a back injury and misses the last 35 games of the year or so. And, these guys, they get a little older and they get more vulnerable. We have a performance team that's monitoring them daily. We are going to look after them, and if they're banged up and they need a night off, we're going to give them a night off.
How lousy a patient is he? And I don't mean in terms of being, injured, but when you tell him you're getting the night tonight, how much of a fight does he put up, and how real is that fight?
Well, it just depends. But yesterday I didn't give him a choice. I walked to him at our breakfast meeting, and I said, "This is non-negotiable. You're not playing tonight." And I walked away before he could argue. And I just heard him chuckle as I walked away. So there have been other times where he has been demonstrative and really against hitting out. And but this one was really obvious with the schedule and just him being banged up, and what our performance team is telling us that all the metrics are showing. He needed a night, and so we gave it to him.
What's his percentage of persuading you to change your mind?
He hasn't missed that many games over the years, other than the one season when he hurt his hand and missed the whole year. It seems like usually what happens, knock on wood, is he'll have something like last year when Marcus Smart, I think, fell on his heel, and he missed a few weeks. Or year before, he fell back and bruised his tailbone and missed a couple weeks. So that seems to be the pattern for Steph, where he's healthy, and then like most guys, he gets a sustains an injury of some sort, this is a couple weeks, but for the most part, he's playing. He's out there, and it's so this is not a common theme.
Is giving him the night off at breakfast enough time for him to make a tea time?
Probably not. Maybe I need to reconsider, but
I mean, I would imagine he and Andre Iguodala just look at each other and are like, at the very least, we're hitting 5 buckets of balls today.
Yeah, we got to go play golf for sure.
Steve, you got a like you said, a tough stretch of games coming up, starting tomorrow night with the Clippers, who are like the mirror. Well, they're the mirror opposite of you. While you guys have no trouble scoring and defense has been a challenge, they play an awful lot of defense and scoring has been a challenge. If styles make fights, how do you start handicapping this one tomorrow?
The Clippers have played us really tough, the last couple of years. It's a really perfect Ty Lue team. Ty is one of the best coaches in the league. He's got a formula that he really likes. He loves switching everything defensively. He loves, attacking your weak spots with dribble penetration. So we've always had interesting battles, and I really like the roster the Clippers have built. A lot of shooting and a lot of size, a lot of switchability. So they've made it tough on us the last couple of years, and I know they've got injuries of their own that they're dealing with, but always seems like the games we play against them are competitive and intense.
I wanted to look down the schedule at that 6-game road trip right before Christmas. Have you already started plotting out who's going to rest what games or not, or do you work that far ahead?
No. I mean, this is something that happens, in real time. And as I said, we have a performance team that is logging all of the relevant information on all of our players in terms of their energy output, how much mileage they're covering during games, how their bodies are responding. They've got all kinds of data that we've never had access to before. And then when you add kind of the eye test of or just the opinion of the player, hey, how you feeling? You get a sense of how everything it needs to happen. And so this is something that we sort of figure out on the fly.
So, Steve, did you have a flight to Utah scheduled for dessert of Thanksgiving dinner, or do you leave on Friday morning? What's your Thanksgiving day, Thursday, look like for you?
I will be enjoying Thanksgiving at home, thankfully. Last year we've been on the road for Christmas the last 2 years, I believe, and this year the schedule is pretty favorable. To be here on Thanksgiving and Christmas is awesome. And that Utah game Friday is at home also. So
oh, that's right. You're not going to Utah. You don't have to go anywhere there. You hit the road after that.
Yeah, we fly out Saturday, so this is a nice week for us.
Well, hey, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, surrounded by family and loved ones and friends, and thank you for being a part of the show as always, man. We're thankful for the conversations we get to have with you, how forward you are about when things are going well and when they're not going well. You've worn an awful lot of emotion on your sleeve so far this season, and we appreciate the level of honesty we always get from you. You can't ask for more than that from an interview, especially an interview that is always punctual. You're the easiest guy to get on the phone in sports, Steve.
Well, I'm glad I can accommodate you.
Thank you so much for doing so. Good luck against the Clippers, and happy Thanksgiving.
All right, you too, guys. Thanks a lot.